introduce ourselves.
Yes, Mr. Logan. Yes, sir.
Now we got that over with.
Yeah. So, Clay, you were saying that you had put Brasstown, North Carolina on the map about 1988, 1990. What was that all about?
Well, in 1980, me and my wife bought Clay's Corner down there.
Oh,
Right there.
yeah, up there.
In the possum.
What's that?
We got a possum hanging. We got two of them. We got one at the store.
Is that anything like a hanging chad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hear that.
That's all right.
It's more comfortable sitting down when you're trying to tell a story, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
In 19, has anybody heard about the possum drop? How many of them have been to the possum drop? A few. Well, that's good. That's good. Every possum drop I've done, we've done 25 years. I wore this red shirt. That's the reason I wore it tonight. It's been in every possum drop I've done. And this cap, and this hat. So it makes me feel more like a possum drop setting. So, and I want you to get into that feeling of it too. But this story is going to be sort of like Paul Harvey, you remember him? And now the rest of the story, I'm going to tell you things that happened behind the scene that nobody knows about, except Peter. And you remember Rudolph, the guy that got caught for blowing up Atlanta and, all right. Hide and seek champion. His winter motel was about a mile as a crow fly above my house on Forest Creek. And I worked for the U.S. Forest Service. And me and a friend of mine, Chad Cook, was coming out of Forest Creek right after they had caught him, and he told where his living quarters was at. And it's in like July or August. We was getting ready to come home. We met this guy, flagged us down, and he was a reporter for the New York Times. They're the big boys, ain't they? So he asked us where it's at, and we told him how to get there. And we told him, I said, you know, if you ain't got nothing to do New Year's Eve, why don't you just come down to Brasstown and do an article on the possum drop? And he did. And they done a half a page in the New York Times. And that's when all hell broke loose. That's when Peter got a hold of it. So they called that evening, about 6 o'clock. And they didn't call me, they called the local game warden there. And he was a good friend of mine, and he came up and he said, look, I just got a call from Peter that they're going to sue you if you use a live possum. And I said, well, he said, what you going to do? And I said, we're going to go to Plan B. He said, what's that? I said, we don't know yet. So we went and we found, Peter really caused the tragic happenings of a possum because of them that night. We went to the house and we had a little heart-to-heart talk with this little possum we had, and he went along with us. So after we got him unconscious, we'd had some roughing up a little bit, so we took him to my wife's basement. I think that's a little early. But anyhow, we put him in with the washing machine stuff, that little washerette there thing, and we washed him down and wet him down, and we went and got my wife's hair dryer and we blowed him down good and dry, and we put him on a little board. We had a little board about like that. He was a small possum, and we placed him the way we wanted him, and we put him in the deep freezer. So we froze him, quick froze him from about 6 o'clock to about 9:45. And we went and got him, we put him in a little cage. It was a clear cage at that time. And there he sat, as pretty as you ever see. Nobody knowed a thing. Till about 11:45, and he started thawing out just a little bit. And he got to leaning a little bit towards the level roof. You know, people come and look at him. That's when we had it over the canopy. That's before we went big time. And he was laying there and he'd say, I believe he's dead. He's not moving. I said, no, he's just taking a nap. So we got by without Peter suing us. But that didn't last long. Then they brought up a lawsuit against myself in the North Carolina Wildlife. They sued me for doing it, and the Wildlife for giving a permit for me to do it. So then that brought on more and more and more, you know. We had to go to Raleigh. I had to take our lawyers and go to Raleigh and go before. The Wildlife wasn't too smart. They, when Peter, see, I know right off that I had to have some help. Because I looked Peter up on the computer, and they had $30 million in their bank, and I had $300 in my bank. And I said, they're going to do a whole lot more to me than I can do to them. So we got the Wildlife helping with the lawsuit. And they let this little fancy lawyer from California. Now, if you let a lawyer come from out of state to represent whoever, they have to have permission by the other plaintiff or defendant, whichever one. And the Wildlife said, yeah, let her come on. Well, she did, and she smoked them. I mean, she spit them, chewed them up, and spit them out like one thing. So we lost that lawsuit, this flat law. Cost the Wildlife $75,000 to pay her, just her lawyer fees. So when you lose, you know, the lawyer gets to pay. So it woke the Wildlife up. They didn't. The next lawsuit, they'll say, nah, we'll let you use one here in North Carolina. You're gonna use one out there. But anyhow, we got 2 or 3, we won the next lawsuit, and then they sued us again. And then finally, we won the third one. So we won 2 out of 3, and we won being able to use a live possum. And how we done it is our representative, Roger West, from western North Carolina. I don't know any of us know him or not, but he liked possums. And he got the legislature to pass a bill that any from December the 28th to January the 3rd, you can do anything you want to a possum. Of course, it's not a game animal. Everybody always done everything you wanted to a possum anyhow. Everybody. Kick them off the porch or run them off or whatever, you know. So now it's legal. But with that legal, I had to build a cage for the Wildlife, for Peter. It had to be 6 foot long, 4 foot high. I had to put little branches in there like that, like it was a limb for him to climb on and stuff. Then I had to put another little cage in the back of that to where he could be in there when it's dark and stuff, because they sleep at daytime. So then they sent me up. Yeah. Then they sent me this request of what I had to do for a diet. And I said, well, I feed him the best cat food or dog food. Yeah. Oh no, that's not good for him. Cat food and dog food's not good for them. You gotta send them stuff that they eat. And I said,
that's what they eat in my garbage can.
yeah. You got, but they love tomatoes and squash and cucumbers and all kinds of natural food like that. So I had to follow this recipe down through there. But anyhow, we got through with that. And then they called one more time and said, look, if you use a live possum again this time, we're going to sue you for cruelty. Well, we hadn't got that part straightened out yet, but they did later on. But I did stand in my parking lot and take pictures, you know, of the cage. I had the cage, and I had a screen put on it. I guess that's what you call it, like they do these cars. I had a picture of a possum. On the bottom was his belly, and on each side was his side, and the top was his head. And just had holes like that to look through. And I wouldn't let them be on my property. I said, you're not allowed to be on my property, you're trespassing. So they'd stay out there on the road, and they had them big old cameras with them big old telescopic, you know, and they was looking through that little hole. And this time I put a remote control car in that box, because they thought for sure I had a possum in there. So every now and then I just wiggle it and it just make the stage. It absolutely blew their mind. At the end of the show that night, they called the sheriff and said, "We demand you to come down here and open this cage up, because we know there's a live possum in there." He said, "Well, it's like this." He said, "I got elected to protect the people. I don't protect animals. So I'm not coming unlocking that cage." So that blew their mind, you know. So that's just some of the things that I had to put up with. In the meantime, we was doing a stage act. We went from over the county to a full-blown stage. Well, the Y2K, remember that? Everybody scared to death. Life as we know it is going to change forever. We're going to be in 40 days of dark or something. And all the EMCs and everything, people had to work, had to be at their station in case all the power and stuff went on. Well, that was the year we had getting so many people. You know, we started out with 20 people and we ended up with thousands of people. But that was the year that we was getting so big that we had to put a big screen TV up over our little building. It was like a 10 by 6 by 10, you know, where everybody could see, because you couldn't, well, the way it was set, you couldn't see very far, but you could see good then. Well, about dark, we had a little movie we made. We was going to show the movie, and we turned it on, and you couldn't see nothing, because we had a night light right beside of it, beside the store. It was one of them night lights, you know, you have outside. You couldn't see the screen. I said, "Man, what are we going to do now?" So I called Murphy Electric. That's where we got our power from. It wasn't Blue Ridge. It was from Murphy Power. And they ain't but about 20 employees down there. So they said, "We'll take care of it." So one of the boys that lived right from the store out there, he come home, went and got his gun, come back, got out of his truck, shot the light out, got back in his truck and drove off.
And this is how the possum drop continued for 20 years and put Brasstown, North Carolina on the map.
Redneck possum drop, that's what it was. Just plain fun. We kept 99% of the alcohol away. Sometimes you can't, you know. Some of them come carrying in a 6-pack and the sheriff would get them to carry. Said either go put it up or go to jail. They go put it up. And we have done. We always had events going on from 10 to 12. Solid something going on. We'd have bluegrass music for 10 or 15 minutes. And then we'd do the Miss Possum contest, which was the biggest hit of the whole thing.
So shall we give a sample of that possum drop tonight? You ready to show them that possum drop, a sample of that possum drop tonight? We could bring in New Year right now. We can pick the 2025 or 2026.
You want to do it now?
Yeah, we need to do it now.
All right.
All right.
Well, let me set this up.
Okay.
We have the events. Have we done been here that long?
It's coming.
No, just been a minute. We had events, and then we had the Miss Possum contest, which the papers always tried to write it up as men in drag, and I'd kill that first thing. I'd say, look, it's not men in drag, it's Southern gentlemen dressed up like Southern ladies. Every time we had to start that, I'd knock that in the head. And then we always did a great patriotic show at the end for all of our service people and stuff like that. But tonight, we have a possum. I don't know if you noticed it back there. And for y'all that haven't been to it, we wanted you to get the feel of it. So we're going to try to get the lights cut down real low, and if we've got a spotlight to put on the possum, it don't matter if we don't. But if you're all, if everybody will stand up. If we got the gentleman ready, check around the corner and see if he's ready to lower the possum.
All right, let's see, is he ready to lower the possum?
So this is what.
By golly, he looks like he's ready.
All right, that's all right. Everybody's standing up now. When we start, I want you and everybody to help me count it down from 10 down. You ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Can't hear it.
Yeah, we're turning that baby up. And that's exactly how they sounded in Brasstown when they sang. Yeah.
That brought the new year in. So, thank you, folks. I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah.